your ultimate destination for raw truth, political drama, and moments that shake the halls of power. If you're done with watered-down narratives and want to witness the most powerful clashes unfolding in real time, then make sure to subscribe. What we're diving into today isn't just a debate, it's a political wake-up call. Let's get into it. The scene was set, the cameras were rolling, and everything seemed like a regular Senate hearing until something unexpected happened. JD Vance, a freshman senator known for his sharp-tongued critiques and strong conservative stances, attempted to challenge none other than Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. But what happened next was not just surprising, it was legendary. JD Vance came in with questions, but he wasn't prepared for the firepower Crockett had in response. This wasn't just a clapback, it was a demolition, and the entire room felt it. The hearing was supposed to focus on oversight, transparency, and alleged partisan interference in federal investigations. A standard topic these days. JD Vance was visibly ready, armed with notes and his usual confident posture. As the cameras rolled and the room fell quiet, Vance began with what seemed like a loaded question aimed squarely at Congresswoman Crockett's integrity and her party's handling of classified investigations. Vance's tone was patronizing, the kind you often hear when a politician thinks they're about to deliver a knockout. He leaned into his microphone and asked, "Congresswoman Crockett, can you explain how your committee claims to value transparency when it's your own colleagues who have refused multiple subpoenas over the last 2 years?" It was the kind of question designed to corner, to catch off guard, and to set a trap. But Jasmine Crockett didn't flinch. Without even looking down at notes, she responded in her signature calm, cutting tone. "I'm so glad you brought that up, Senator Vance," she began, "because if we're going to talk about subpoenas and accountability, then let's talk about all of them, including the ones your side ignored during the January 6th investigation. Or have we suddenly decided that only some subpoenas count?" The room shifted. You could feel it. That moment when everyone realizes things are about to get real. Vance raised an eyebrow, clearly surprised she didn't deflect, but rather doubled down. Crockett continued, citing public records that showed multiple instances where Republican lawmakers had either ignored or delayed compliance with congressional inquiries. She pointed out how the standard seemed to change depending on which party was under scrutiny. But that wasn't all. She then pulled out copies of Vance's own public statements, including one where he questioned the validity of federal investigations unless they aligned with his political viewpoint. The receipts were real, and she read them word for word, looking directly at Vance as she did. "Senator," she said sharply, "we cannot cherry-pick which laws apply to whom based on how convenient it is for our narrative. If we do that, we're not governing, we're playing politics with justice. And frankly, the American people deserve better than selective outrage." Vance tried to interject, muttering something about bias and leftist media, but Crockett didn't let him off the hook. She smiled and said, "You can shout bias all you want, but the facts don't shout, they stand. And right now, they're standing in front of you." That's when it hit the boiling point. Vance, clearly losing his cool, leaned in and said, "With all due respect, Congresswoman, I don't need a lecture from someone who has never served in the Senate." Without missing a beat, Crockett leaned forward herself and delivered the line that set the internet on fire. "And I don't need credentials from someone who still hasn't figured out how to debate without deflecting. I may not serve in the Senate, Senator Vance, but I serve the truth, and it answers to no chamber." Boom. The gallery gasped. The moderators froze. Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube lit up. That clip circulated in seconds. Hashtags like #CrockettClapback and #VanceOwned started trending immediately. Everyone from major news anchors to everyday citizens couldn't stop talking about how Jasmine Crockett delivered one of the most effective and composed takedowns seen in recent political memory. The brilliance of her response wasn't just in the delivery, it was in the preparation. Crockett wasn't there to play defense. She came to hold the line with facts, clarity, and unwavering purpose. In contrast, Vance appeared increasingly flustered. Every time he tried to shift the topic, Crockett brought it back with evidence, quotes, and public data. What made this moment more powerful was how visibly Vance began to crumble under the pressure. His tone turned defensive. His arguments lost structure. He even at one point began questioning the credibility of the committee itself, a move seen by many analysts as an act of desperation. Meanwhile, Crockett kept going. She brought up issues like voter suppression, selective enforcement of federal policies, and even touched on economic hypocrisy and legislative spending. She turned every jab Vance tried into an opening to educate, to illuminate, and to dismantle. Outside the hearing room, the political world exploded. Pundits across the board began analyzing what just happened. Was this the moment JD Vance lost his political momentum? Had Jasmine Crockett just cemented her status as one of the fiercest new voices in Congress? One veteran journalist tweeted, "I've seen hundreds of hearings, but Jasmine Crockett just delivered one of the most precise, fearless rebuttals I've ever witnessed." JD Vance wasn't just unprepared, he was outclassed. Even those typically neutral were praising the Congresswoman for her composure and command of the facts. Political students and law professors began sharing the clip in classrooms as an example of effective debate tactics and leadership under fire. By the next day, Jasmine Crockett was invited onto multiple news networks, where she simply said, "I'm not here for theatrics. I'm here for truth, justice, and making sure nobody walks into that hearing room thinking they can bully the truth into silence." Meanwhile, JD Vance attempted to do damage control. He released a statement accusing Crockett of turning a serious hearing into a media stunt. But it didn't land. His reaction, his demeanor, and his inability to counter her arguments were already burned into the public memory. This wasn't just a debate, it was a defining moment. Jasmine Crockett didn't just clap back, she set a precedent. That no matter the chamber, no matter the title, and no matter the party, when facts enter the room, everything else has to sit down. She reminded the public why strong voices matter. Why preparation is everything. And why political theater cannot survive the weight of truth. JD Vance underestimated her. He saw an opportunity for political points. What he got instead was a lesson, a public reminder that underestimating a powerful, informed, and fearless opponent comes at a cost. The moment became a turning point, not just for Crockett's career, but for how these hearings will be approached from now on. People are watching closely. They've seen what real accountability looks like, and they're not letting go. This was the kind of moment that shakes things up, resets the room, and realigns power. A moment when one person chose truth over optics and walked away not just unshaken, but elevated. So, if you're wondering whether Jasmine Crockett is a rising force to be reckoned with, the answer is loud and clear. And to every senator thinking they can use old tricks to intimidate, belittle, or distract, they might want to think again. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to Carnova for more fire moments, unfiltered truth, and political confrontations that the mainstream can't handle. Because here, we don't just report, we reveal.